I can't believe I'm saying this. Donald Trump is back. I am not kidding. He just announced that he is running for president of the United States in 2024. This is not a joke. This is real.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for president of the United States.
That's it. That's the announcement. Oh, God. Oh, no. What Trump was doing, he basically timed this for the midterms. Okay, so in case you haven't heard, the Democrats lost the House, and the Republicans, the GOP, have now taken control of the U.S. House. Here are the results. 218 seats. So a majority now for the Republicans, and the Democrats have lost their majority and are now relegated to 210 seats. Okay, so this is very significant because, while Biden is still in the White House, the Democrats still have the White House, and the Senate is, we still don't know because you still have runoff races in the next months. But yeah, I mean, this is, of course this is going to happen, man. Of course, because the Democrats, they came into office, they got all three, right? They got the House, the Senate, and the White House. I mean, the Senate barely, but still. Biden promised $2,000 checks, and then he cheated people. He said, oh no, Trump gave you $600, so actually I only give you $1,400. Like, what a cheapskate. And then on top of that, the student loan. I'm going to do a separate video on that in just a moment. But the student loan relief, where is it? Not one person has received a penny. When it comes to healthcare, all of these people that we're talking about the House, right? All these people, these progressives that got elected to the House, and some of them have been reelected now, like AOC and so on, going off for their second, third term. Where are the things that you promised to deliver on? You were sent to do a job, and you were sent to focus on a handful of things. Easy peasy. Healthcare, Green New Deal, just basic progressive platforms. That's it. And student loan forgiveness, etc. Where is it? You have to understand something. You can't blame them for not succeeding because obviously they're not running the government by themselves, right? It's just a handful of people. But if they don't try, then you can blame them. And they did not try. As a matter of fact, they worked against themselves and their voters, to be frank, right? So instead of putting their foot down when they could have put their foot down, because people say, oh, it's just 5 people. Yeah, guess what? Sometimes a bill only needs 5 votes to get through. Guess who gave them those 5 votes? It's these frauds. That's the issue. You see how Machiavellian that is? Okay, I don't exaggerate. I'm not saying they're like, playing 15-dimensional chess, but I'm sorry. The behavior is not acceptable. They're lying and failing to deliver on their campaign promises. So everything the Democrats promised, from Biden to the people in the House, they haven't fulfilled a single one of those things. All they've done is give weapons to Ukraine, which really means giving billions of dollars to U.S. companies that make weapons. That's what it means, okay? If they cared about Ukraine, they would have sent diplomats, not weapons. They gave all these billions to corporations during COVID, and they gave all these billions to Ukraine. So 65 billion they've already given, and now they're planning another 50 billion. I want to tell you something, man. I want to ask you something. Do you think if you went to the lawns of the White House or the steps of the Capitol and you asked, hey, please, I'm begging you, can you give us $50 billion? Or $65 billion, or $1 billion for healthcare? Do you think they would listen? They would kick you to the curb and say, go away, right? So whether it's Biden, whether it's AOC, whether it's Pelosi, all of these people have crapped all over their constituents, and they've only prioritized Wall Street and the corporations. That's it. I'm sorry. The bottom line, no pun intended, the bottom line is there is a ton of money, and the ton of money was given to corporations. Not you, not for healthcare, not for student loan relief, nothing. That's a fact. It's indisputable. You guys know that she had the power to impeach Bush. She did impeach Donald Trump, but not for the actual crimes, right? And there was an interview that she gave in 2019 where she said that she knew George Bush was lying about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and she even says, like, she's like almost gloating and boasting and gleeful She says, like, well, I knew for sure because we were given special briefings, right? Because I was on this and that committee. I think she was on House Intelligence, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, just being senior leadership in the Democratic Party, right? So she had special briefings telling her this shit is fake. It's not real. And she said, but, you know, I didn't want to impeach him. And so now she's finally leaving after having made, I don't know what her net worth is something between $100 million and $200 million. Let's look it up quickly. Something obscene. Like, there's no way you're making that on a government salary. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the president or you're, on a city council. You're not making that money, honestly, in government. I'm pretty confident in saying that she's worth around $100 million. And again, this makes sense, right? Because her job is basically to pimp out Congress. So what she'll do is she'll collect stacks of money. I'm not even exaggerating. She just collects these stacks of money and just like hands them out to people to vote a certain way. You don't get to be leader of the House for several terms without being corrupt. It just doesn't work that way. You got to be a team player. She's a team player. She's leading the team. And so now she leaves with all this stinking money, this corrupt money that she's made. And with her $11,000 fridges, you remember that? When she was eating ice cream during COVID, like people are getting nothing and she's like flexing with those giant, she has twin $11,000 fridges, right? Very nice. Very nice. You know, I even said this at the time. I don't care what fridge she has if she would at least serve the people that she was elected to serve, right? Like if she was actually doing her job and helping people out, making their lives better, how could you blame her? Sure, you're the House leader. Go buy a fridge, whatever. But like you don't crap on people and take their money and give it to corporations. And then on top of that, just like gloat. That's disgusting. Let me show you this clip. These are from House Republicans. So as I said, they've taken the House and from day one, they are launching an investigation against Joe Biden. Let me play you this clip. This is from James Comer. So this is from the Oversight Committee.
With his family about their business dealings. That was a lie. Whistleblowers described President Biden as chairman of the board for these businesses. He personally participated in meetings and phone calls. Documents show that he was a partner with access to an office. To be clear, Joe Biden is the big guy. This evidence raises troubling questions about whether President Biden is a national security risk and about whether he is compromised by foreign governments. Despite the president's claim that he wasn't involved in Biden family business schemes, these photos show Joe Biden meeting with...
Okay, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt him. Can we stop this compromised by foreign government? No one is saying Biden is compromised by foreign government. He's compromised by corporations. He's just corrupt. You don't have to start like reaching. He's just corrupt. That's it. You don't need to go further than that. I just wanted to say that quickly. It's the same thing with Trump, right? The guy's corrupt. You don't have to start making up fairy tales. There's no need for that.
With his family associates while vice president. Right there behind Paul. 4 different pictures. Committee Republicans have identified over 50 countries the Biden family sought businesses in. On the international side of the Biden family business, the deals were often led by Hunter Biden. And that map there behind Clay shows all the countries where the Bidens had a footprint in international business dealing.
God, this is so funny. Exhibit a map. I mean, again, I understand what they're getting at because you guys remember Biden's son, Hunter Biden. He was basically using his prestige as the vice president's son. This is during Obama years, right? Biden's vice president, and his son is using his family connections, his father, to pimp out influence, and that's corrupt, obviously. But I don't know. I don't know if it was anywhere else besides China and Ukraine. So I don't know. It was definitely China and Ukraine. I don't know what they're pointing at here. But again, I'll just let him finish. Okay, I'll let him finish.
The investigation reveals a family that engaged with some of America's most powerful adversaries, planning to sell one of the largest sources of cobalt for electric vehicles in the world to the Chinese, for example. The Bidens flourished and became millionaires by simply offering access to the family. Among the dozens of shell companies the Bidens set up, there were millions of dollars of wire transfers, flights on Air Force Two to conduct personal business, and meetings with heads of state, all while Joe Biden was aware of what was happening. All the while, he turned a blind eye. Many transactions related to these businesses have raised red flags at U.S. banks. A suspicious activity report, or SAR, is a document a bank must file with the Treasury Department when a transaction is suspected to be related to money laundering or fraud or other types of criminal activity. According to media reports, the Biden family accumulated over 150 SARs. One SAR generated by an American bank to the Treasury Department connects Hunter Biden and his business associates to international human trafficking, among other illegal activities. The money that was being made from foreign principals in the same room as Joe Biden was increasing.
So you heard that. One of the things they're saying is that there's something to do with human trafficking. I've never heard this before. And honestly, I don't know if it's true. In the run-up to the election, so we're talking, November 2020, there was the story came out, right? It was New York Post. It was the story from the Hunter Biden laptop. And, I think it was indecent to post his personal photos. I mean, I don't, that has literally no political or journalistic value whatsoever. But the business dealings, I can sort of understand, because he was pimping out his father's position like we just talked about. So that is relevant, especially if the guy's running for office again. So, it's the guy's trying to become the president of the United States. So there has to be scrutiny. That's normal. And that was not even the biggest issue, because all these people are corrupt. It's not just Biden. Biden's not special. He's actually very, very normal in that sense in Washington. But what was special and irregular and outrageous about this period is that you had all these social media platforms colluding, but no pun intended. I don't even like that word. I hate it because it's become so stigmatized. But they purposely blocked this link to the story, which was of extreme relevance and importance, on the cusp of an election in the United States. So the fact that they did that, and you had this letter that was signed by all of these former, I wanted to say CIA agents, let's just say liars. All these people in U.S. intelligence who were signing a letter saying, oh, this is a Russian story. This is not true. The laptop is not real. These documents are not real, blah, blah, blah. It is real. We know it's real. It's a fact. Even the New York Times, after Biden was elected, of course, after, they've come out and said it's real. So that is what's really concerning. It's extremely dystopian. It's like the truth is staring you right in the face, and they're coming and saying, no, that's not true. We're telling you so. That's scary. That's scary. And it shows you how they're ready to pounce at anything they don't like and to shut it down immediately. I swear you couldn't even click on it. You would click on it and say, no, don't go to this new site because this is actually disinformation or whatever crap they were. And they make up labels as they go along. That's childish. And, if you have a free society and you have a democratic society and you have a fourth pillar and you have a free press, you don't do this stuff. And you don't allow social media companies to profit, to eat their cake and have it too, because they basically avoid regulation by saying, well, we're not a publisher, we're a platform, but then they go and actually make publishing decisions, right? And editorial decisions to say, this is okay to post, this is not okay to post. And, obviously I'm not saying you should just go wild and start posting heinous shit, but this is a relevant story, and they blocked it. So right now, I just want to finish by saying, the Republicans have control of the House. Trump is running for president, and Nancy Pelosi stepping down as leader. Democrats haven't delivered on anything, so I'm not surprised that they lost the House. It could have been worse, actually. This is, they were saying there's going to be a red wave, meaning you're going to have a wave of states turning red Republican. I don't think you can say that happened because 2010 and 2018 is pretty even, right? They didn't exactly demolish the Democrats. But Democrats could have avoided this by just keeping their campaign promises, which I know is a lot to ask because they're liars. Both parties are liars. But I'm just saying, with Trump, I don't know where this is going because you have a lot of people who are kind of distancing themselves from him. And I know this is a popular mantra which they like to repeat in the media. Say, oh, look at Trump, he's so irrelevant now, and he's so all the Republicans hate him and they're worried about him because he's gonna plague the party. There's some truth to that, but I just want to remind you, they were saying the same thing before he became the president. They said, oh, this guy's got no chance. And the day of the election, the New York Times, they published this oh, Hillary Clinton is a 60-80% chance of winning. And I want to show you something interesting because this is a tweet from Mike Pompeo. So Mike Pompeo, former CIA director and also Trump's Secretary of State, right? And Mike Pompeo, the day that Trump announced that he's running for president, he came out and tweeted this. He said, we need more seriousness, less noise, and leaders who are looking forward, not staring in the rearview mirror, claiming victimhood. You can interpret that any way you like, but a lot of people are looking at this and saying that this is a rebuke of Trump. It's an implicit rejection of Trump's announcement to run for president, right? Because of the timing. And the fact that, basically, he says he says not staring in the rearview mirror, claiming victimhood. So basically, he could be alluding to Trump saying that, he lost the election and he was a victim of impeachment and all this stuff. I don't know. You can interpret that any way you like. I understand why some people would think that it's related. It could be. And there's also chatter that Mike Pompeo himself might actually run for president. Jesus Christ. The guy did enough damage as CIA director. What is he going to do? In my opinion, I feel like Pompeo, I could be wrong, but I feel like Pompeo is one of those guys like John Bolton. They're happy not to become the president, but to basically enjoy the privilege of serving in multiple administrations, right? Just like a scourge, they're always there in the background. They're always there plotting some shit, ruining countries, killing people, assassinating people. And that way, instead of, having to fight to get into the office, they're just always there. And they're friendly with everybody. And just slimy politicians. One more thing I'd like to show you. The last thing, this is Mike Pence. So that's Donald Trump's vice president. He was on CNN. He was asked if he will support Trump in 2024. And let me play you this clip.
First, I have to ask you, of course, about the elephant in the room, which is your former boss, Donald Trump, just announced that he's running for president. Will you support him?
Well, it's great to be here at CNN, Jake.
Thank you.
It really is. Thank you for bringing together so many great Americans, including, I heard, some people from my home state of Indiana.
A lot of them.
With us here
Hoosiers
today.
in the house.
And let me just say that it was a great honor for me to be a part of the Trump-Pence administration. I mean, in 4 short years, we rebuilt our military, we revived our economy, we unleashed American energy, we appointed conservatives to our courts at every level. But in the end, our administration did not end well. And I write about that in my book. But as I've traveled across the country over the last year and a half, one thing I've heard over and over again, whether it's at the grocery store in Indiana or traveling around the country, is people want us to get back to the policies of the Trump-Pence administration. They want to see America strong and prosperous and advancing the policies that we advanced that left America more secure and 7 million American jobs created. But the other thing that I've heard consistently is that the American people are looking for new leadership that will unite our country around our highest ideals, leadership that will reflect the civility and respect that most Americans have for one another. Once you get out of politics,
you bring decency back to the Oval Office. It almost sounds like Biden.
You learn pretty quickly that while our politics is very divided, the American people actually get along pretty well every day and treat each other with kindness and with decency and with respect. And so I think in the days ahead, whatever role I and my family play in the Republican Party, whether it's as a candidate or simply a part of the cause, I think we'll have better choices.
Better choices.
Than my old running mate. I think America longs to go back to the policies that were working for the American people, but I think it's time for new leadership in this country that will bring us together around our highest ideals.
Would that be you?
I'll keep you posted.
You'll keep me posted. All right. Just to put a button on this, if Donald Trump were to run and win the nomination, would you support him as the nominee?
Well, let me say there may be somebody else in that contest I'd prefer more, Jake.
Mm-hmm. Anyone in mind?
But I honestly believe we're going to have better choices. Literally everywhere I've gone across the country, I've heard again and again that the American people look at the policies of the Biden and Harris administration that have ignited the worst inflation in 40 years.
Okay, so you have your answer. Mike Pence distancing himself from Trump and Pompeo, I guess, And just last reminder, when Trump left office, even AIPAC abandoned him after all he did for Israel, right? He did a lot. He moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. He violated multiple UN Security Council resolutions saying that the Golan Heights, the Syrian Golan Heights that are illegally occupied by Israel, belong to Israel. He said that Jerusalem belongs to Israel, which is also a violation of multiple UN resolutions. He did the Abraham Accords, basically. Again, these countries already had ties with Israel under the table, but he brought it out to the open and made it official. Still a win for Israel because Israel wants to legitimize itself. Israel is not accepted by the majority of Arab countries, and there are other countries around the world that also do not recognize Israel. So Israel tries its hardest to, legitimize itself through various means, and by getting 2 Arab countries specifically to recognize it, that was a win for Israel, and he did that. So. Mind you, the UAE, 80% of the population are foreigners. Okay, it's just a hub. If you're a foreigner and you want a nice job, you go to the UAE. And Bahrain, the people in Bahrain are disgusted by what their government did. They do not support Israel. And there's Sudan and Morocco also. But I just think it's interesting watching all the as they say in English, right? All the rats jumping ship. So that's a phrase we have in English when someone is going down and all the people around that person or that thing are suddenly realizing, oh crap, I better look after myself and get the hell away from that. That's what Pence and Pompeo and AIPAC did. I'll just remind you that this is a great day for, I almost said left, God forbid, for liberal media. The producers at CNN and MSNBC are popping champagne right now because their cash cow is back. Donald Trump, the orange Cheeto man, who they'll never criticize for, actual crimes like attacking Iran, starving people in Syria, because they do that too. They are doing that too. And continuing his sanctions and policy. They are so glad he is back because their ratings are going to go up. They're crappy shows that nobody watches because they don't cover news, right? I'm not saying they're bad. They don't speak well or, that they don't know how to report. It's just they don't report. They cover nonsensical non-issues, and they're all the same, right? There are a million ways to criticize Trump, real, legitimate, hard-hitting ways, and they never did it because they support those policies. They're just like him. Nevertheless, they're going to find, like I said, trivial, nonsensical issues, and they're going to have so much better ratings and money coming in and advertising revenue. Remember, the years when Trump was president were their most successful years. Correct me if I'm wrong. All of them wrote books. Oh, Russiagate, Russia this, Russia that. Oh my God, collusion this, collusion that. Rachel Maddow had 15 seasons of her crappy show about this, it's basically like, she's basically like a female Alex Jones, although I think she's so bad that's an insult to Alex Jones. But, she had people hooked on this conspiracy theory. That's what they're going to do. So if Trump was really smart and he wanted to screw them, he would not run for president because he's basically handing money and advertising and revenue and ratings to them on a silver platter. So well done.